Victoria Lane project is somewhat unique for Wellington because it is the first building that will incorporate both base isolation and a diagrid in a residential setting. These are two structural engineering technologies that enhance the performance of the structure in the event of an earthquake. Now, I actually live on the 18th floor of an apartment building, a conventional structure, and during the Kaikoura event I can tell you it was quite frightening because being at the top of the building we had quite high accelerations. When you think about a conventional structure, it moves like this in an earthquake, and so at the top of the building you are moving a greater distance, accelerations are higher, you feel higher accelerations. What base isolation does is effectively isolate a building from the ground below. In an earthquake, it's the ground that moves, and the building, if you like, has to keep up with the ground. In base isolation, that is removed. The ground is effectively allowed to move beneath the building without imparting the forces and accelerations up into the superstructure that happens in a conventional building. The second technology is the diagrid, which is effectively a grid of steel, diagonal steel around the perimeter of the building, which makes the superstructure very stiff. The advantage of that is to reduce the likelihood of damage within the building in an earthquake. The structure of the building is essentially steel. It's a structural steel building with concrete floors, and as described, the perimeter has a steel diagrid which takes both the vertical loads, the loads down to the foundations, and the seismic loads down to the foundations as well. Then it sits on the ground floor, which is directly above the base isolators. Below the isolators, there are big, deep piles, and they go well down into the alluvial material to get good founding. So it's worth considering how the performance of this building might compare to other buildings, well, and particularly other residential buildings. For conventional buildings, conventional apartment buildings, onset of damage, of structural damage may well occur in an event that has a return period of around 100 to 150 years. The onset of superficial damage could be less than that, in the order of a 50-year event. Now, for this building, we wouldn't expect an onset of structural damage until well over the 1,000-year event. And for superficial damage, something of the same order, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 years. So it is quite different in terms of that damage avoidance aspect, and that's really what makes this building different to a conventional structure.